Today we're going to talk about outcomes just like we do every day, but we're going to compare two outcomes for the first time. We've talked about this, but today we're really going to make it happen. So, what are we going to compare? We're going to compare outcomes. So we're going to see how the two compared. And the surgery of choice for these patients was a microscopic lumbar decompression, which is a microscopic laminectomy. And the goal is to free up the space where the nerve is and make the pain go away. So again, why do we do this? We do this so you understand outcomes. The research that we are using here was published research in a medical journal that says this is the outcome of this procedure. So we want to compare this procedure with our procedure so you understand the difference. Doctors are not obligated to report outcomes, but you can find it in the medical research literature because they use outcome variables. They use sometimes pain, sometimes oswestry. So again, this is about patients with sciatica and stenosis. And stenosis is a narrowing of the spinal canal, both on the inside of the spine and the area called the foramen where the nerves come out. So the surgery of choice was to open up the space, take out part of the bone, so the space is bigger and there's more room for the nerve, so the sciatica goes away. And we talked about our study on Wednesday, and there's a live post of that. But in the study for the surgery patients, there were 40 males and there were 20 females. And when I read through the literature, I had to read it a couple times to figure out where the pain was. They never once used the pain as a variable for outcome. All they used in this study was ODI. They said, what was the beginning ODI? What was the ending ODI? And they said, this is the outcome. And this is what it looked like. First of all, the patients that had the procedure were in the hospital for 3.2 days on average. Some more, some a little bit less. And beginning ODI was 29.5. The ending ODI was 12.9. Now I want to talk about this. Excuse me. I read the research and I said 29.5, is that beginning ODI? Because it's so low. If you've listened to any of our outcomes that we've talked about in the past, we never had a patient that low. So I had to read it 3 times to say 29. That was 29. That was their beginning ODI. Remember, it's from 0 to 100. 29 is just a little, obviously just a little bit above 20, and our goal is always to get somebody under 20. So this was their starting ODI. Ending ODI was 12. And we know, well, so 2 things came out of this. They identified ODIs before and after. We know that's an outcome. But also, what they identified was these patients that had a longer symptom duration, meaning they had pain for a longer period of time, had worse outcomes. So the longer the symptoms, they had poor outcomes. So the longer they had the problem, the less likely they were to get better with the procedure. Their average patient had the problem, had back pain for 33 months. These are important variables. This is very, very important. Number one, I was surprised by this, but at the same time, the fact that the longer the patients had the problem, the worse the outcomes were, but also their average patient only had it for 33 months. It's not real long either. This was our study. Okay, I'm not going to talk about all this, but this is for the presentation we did on Wednesday, where we talk about our outcomes. So a couple of variables you need to understand here. Our average oswestry was a 48, but more importantly, our average length of time they had the pain was 104 months. The other patients had it for 33 months. So we're trying to compare these patients. What were the outcomes? Here's what we found. Again, our patients, 104 months, 8.6 years. Their patients, 33 months, 2.75 years. Ours was a long time. Average beginning ODI 48, their average was a 29. Our average ending was an 8, their average was a 12.9. Our Oswestry Disability Index improved by 40 points. Theirs improved by 16.6. They didn't even compare pain. You know, our pain went from 8 all the way down to 0, and they didn't even compare pain. So we don't know what their pain was, either at the beginning or at the end. If I had to guess, I would guess it was probably a 5 and maybe about a 2. Okay? You can see that there was a dramatic change. So what is outcome? What does all this mean? These are, so far I'm trying not to confuse you, but this is how long they had the problem. This is how bad the problem was. This is how much they got better. How long they had the problem, how bad the problem was, how much they got better. This is how you compare outcome. Doctors are not obligated to report outcomes. You have no idea what you should be expecting. We know with our patients, the longer you have it and the higher your Oswestry, that you are a candidate. Every one of these patients in this category that we treated was a candidate for the same procedure. And here's the outcomes. So which one's better? How do we know? We know because of how much it improved. And we also know that the longer they had the symptoms, and we don't have the exact numbers, with our patients we have the exact numbers, but the longer they had the symptoms, the less outcome they had. They had less improvement. The less likely you were to have a good outcome. That's what this is. That's what the study says. That's how you identify outcome. I don't want to confuse you, but that's how it works. So, if you like what you hear, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Our goal is to offer people hope. Even if you've had the surgery and you're one of the patients that had 12.9, we can treat you. We treat a lot of post-surgery patients as well. So subscribe to our YouTube page. Share this with your friends, because everybody has a friend that's suffering that doesn't need to suffer. Let them know we're here. Let them know who we are. Send them to our page. We'll help them. That's it. Today's Friday. Tomorrow's New Year's Eve. Everybody be safe, be careful, and we'll see you Monday. Thank you.